Some days ago, F125 received an update that addressed one of the most important points to improve in this new F125. They announced it in the patch notes themselves. Made minor adjustments to front ride height and floor friction levels to reduce the effect that underbody scraping has on a player's top speed. And why is this? Well, it's explained just below. As you know, some people reported that AI control rivals were able to maintain higher top speeds, even though their performance stats were the same or similar to their own cars. Basically, what I have been saying in my last videos. After investigating, they determined that the car's floor experienced greater friction against the track surface than the AI cars. And that's why they made these adjustments to fix this issue. Now, all this text is fine, but what I really want is to test it myself. Because you read this and think, okay, but is it really fixed or not? Don't worry. That's why I'm here to find out. And now I ask you, what do you think is the best way to know if they have fixed this? Obviously, go to the Miami Grand Prix. In my opinion, it's clear the cheater's paradise when it comes to top speed, to the AI, I mean. There's another important point addressed in this patch as well, which is the AI behavior in the rain, but we'll cover that in the second part of the video. Let's start with the first part. What you're seeing on screen is a 25% race with Alonso's Aston Martin. I wanted to pick a midfield car. I didn't want to have a rocket to test this, because as I said, for me Miami is by far the track where I noticed this cheat the most, that insane top speed the AI had. So what did I do? I simply set up a Miami GP with exactly the same conditions I used in my team mode, where I suffer massively against the AI. Difficulty 107, the same I used in that GP, and exactly the same setup. By the way, my aero setup was 8.8, which isn't high at all. So I had the same setup, jumped into the circuit, and started the race, as you can see, to draw my own conclusions on whether this is really fixed or not. So, in the first part of the race, the first 5 or 6 laps, basically the first stint, I must say I didn't feel especially bad. There wasn't much trouble defending. At the start, we were in a DRS trend, and although I was opening DRS, which obviously helps, the Miami race I did in my team mode was horrible. And comparing the feeling with that race, I have to say, in this first part, everything felt fairly normal. It's true that at one point I had DRS and a Sauber, I think Bortoleto, attacked me, but it wasn't something dramatic. The problem is when it becomes common and you can't fight back at all. I have to say the first laps weren't a problem. As I said, I was paying close attention to the difference between an AI driver and myself when we both had DRS. In this first stint, when I opened DRS, I didn't notice a huge difference compared to the car ahead. The car behind attacked me a few times, as I mentioned, but in these first 5 or 6 laps, the car in front wasn't pulling away despite us both having DRS, which was reassuring. However, this doesn't mean much, because the real test is later. After the pit stop came one of the most important moments for me. I was right behind Gasly. Neither of us had DRS, and I started comparing the top speed difference. For example, on this straight, Gasly starts with a 1.3 second advantage, and it increases to almost 1.5. I mean, during the straight. That's 2/10 lost just on the straight. So yes, clearly they still have higher top speed. I also try not to let my battery drop too slow, as you know that affects performance. I try to keep it high to compare properly. On the second straight, the same thing happened. He was at 1.2, 1.1, and by the end of the straight it was 1.3. I was losing 2/10 per straight. I mean, not dramatic, but clearly it's not completely fixed. Although, to be fair, those 2/10 could be down to his wine settings or car setup, I don't know. It's not such a huge difference that you'd immediately blame the game. I mean, it could be setup related. It seems partially fixed. I wouldn't say totally fixed because I still noticed it at different points during the race where they still had that straight line advantage, but it's much more manageable. Honestly, compared to Miami my team race, there's no comparison. That race was so frustrating for me. It was awful, nothing like what I had here. Also with Hamilton, I wanted to analyze the difference. And it's true that, for example, when I had DRS and he didn't, I wasn't catching him at all. This left me quite puzzled because, as you saw earlier in the race, when I had DRS and the car ahead also had it, the gap stayed the same. But with Hamilton, I barely closed in on him despite having DRS. You can see it on the screen. Sometimes the difference was almost irrelevant. So that was the most complex part, the end of the race in general. And I didn't even run out of battery. My final feeling about this AI top speed issue is that it's partially fixed but not completely. you can still see that small boost or cheat, whatever you want to call it. But personally, I think I'm not going to race in Miami, because I'm not sure if in a 50% race there would be enjoyable now or not. So I won't risk it. I won't put Miami in the next My Team season, but I have to say this 25% race wasn't torture. And this is the first of the two main points in the patch, because here you can see the second point. Adjustments were made to the automatic gearbox in wet conditions. This will reduce short shifts in higher gears and allow you to compete more effectively with the AI. The problem here is that it only talks about the automatic gearbox, so it's only talking about automatic mode. What about those of us who play in manual mode? Obviously, my expectations were quite low because I play with no assists and therefore manual gearbox, so I didn't think this would affect, but just in case, I jump into the game and set up a 25% race in heavy rain under the same conditions I raced some days ago in Mighty mode at the Hungarian GP, where I had a very bad experience. In that race, for example, Berman's Haas was a second per lap faster. In the first 6 laps, he pulled out a 6-second gap. So I went to the exact same track with the same difficulty, 107 again, and tested with Gasly's Alpine, placing myself in midfield. As you can see, there was almost no difference. By lap 4, the gap was about 3.5 seconds, so they were still pulling out almost a second per lap, just like before. Of course, if the issue only affects automatic gearbox, it wouldn't help me, but I wanted to check anyway. Thinking this wouldn't change anything for me, I decided to run an extra test, this time changing the setup. My first test used the exact same setup I use in Mighty mode, but I thought, let's try, because in rain, setup matters a lot. If you use dry setup and then you race in rain, you will have problems. This is true in real life too. So what did I do? I repeat the same race, same car, same conditions, same rivals, same difficulty, but with maximum aero setup, 50-50. In the previous setup, I was running 37-37, which is high, but not max. And I must say the result was much better in this second test. I mean, the cars ahead didn't pull away as much, and it was the same rivals, Berman, Williams, etc. And they didn't gap me as before. They gained a second or so, but I was able to hold the gap for several laps, pushing to the limit, but I was still in the race. It was nothing like the first test. What does this tell us? Clearly, setup matters. A lot in rain, which we already knew. I thought maybe it wouldn't affect things so much, but here it completely determined whether I was competitive or not. In the first race, I was completely out. A second per lap slower means you are out. But in the second race, I was fighting and competing. Of course, it was a very aggressive 50-50 setup, but Hungary is a track that requires high downforce, and with full wet condition, it makes sense. What I don't understand and find to be a huge flaw in this game is the following. With the same car, track and difficulty, but in one race it's dry and in the other it's wet, the difference is enormous. In the full wet race with maximum aero, I was just hanging on, pushing to the limit to keep up with Berman and others. But in the dry race, same car, same track, same rivals, I was easily keeping up and even faster than them, looking for overtakes everywhere. How can the difference be so huge? I'm not saying you can be better or worse in rain versus dry, but the gap shouldn't be that big. And in the dry race, I wasn't even running maximum downforce. Imagine if I had. Look, I'm not a pro player, but I'm not a noob either. I've been playing this for many years and I can handle myself in the wet. I understand people saying, well, maybe you are just better in the dry. But I am a normal player. Not amazing, not terrible, in either condition. And this isn't just my problem. You've told me the same thing too. In this Hungary case, setup can help, yes, but clearly there's still a huge unbalanced difference between wet and dry races at the same difficulty. And that's a problem that should be fixed. So in summary, the battery top speed issue has been tweaked and it's more manageable now, even at Miami, which I think is the worst track for it. So there's still room for improvement, as that AI top speed boost is still there. And as for the rain issue, it's exactly the same as before. The only thing that helped me was changing my setup to be able to compete better, but no actual game change affected it. And that's all. You now have all the information, what it changed and what it didn't. That's everything I have to say about F1 25 in this new patch. If you liked the video, as always, a like is appreciated. That's all for me, and I'll see you in the next one.